So we're jumping back into Jarnail Singh's testimony to the Post Office inquiry, and he's received advice from counsel Warwick Tatford on the issues that they need to deal with in the Seema Misra case. And Jarnail Singh just seems to contract out these legal responsibilities to investigator Jon Longman to deal with, even though he admits that actually he probably wouldn't understand it all, because after all, it's advice to the Post Office as an organisation, legal advice, that presumably a lawyer should deal with. How does he explain it? Let's jump into the inquiry.
Can we go on, please, to FUJ 0015 2887? We're now at the 27th of January 2010, and this is a communication from Mr. Longman to Fujitsu, Penny Thomas in Fujitsu. And can you see, he says, our defence barrister has asked for all of Gareth's replies in relation to the defence's second interim report to be produced as a witness statement. I would suggest that the question from the defence is reproduced and then Gareth's replies are recorded immediately after for clarity purposes. And then
So it's gone from, and this kind of links into what Jarnail Singh was saying in a roundabout way, doesn't it? That actually it's gone from, please can you just answer these questions, to can you put it in a witness statement, to boom, he's an expert witness, he's been promoted and changed status numerous times.
And there's some timing issues. Again, why was Mr. Longman, rather than you, communicating with Fujitsu as to the evidence that needed to be sought?
That's the post office system. That's what we did. I mean, certainly in private practice, I took the solicitor or his assistant, if you like, or his personal representative, took the witness statements. But in post office, ever since I've been there, it was always the investigation officer who did that.
Wait a second, I'm sure he just said before, I'm sorry I can't remember, when asked that exact same question about why he didn't get involved in the witness statement. No, I don't know. And now he's completely sure, seemingly, that actually it was definitely never the solicitor. That's a bit of an about turn in about a period of 10 minutes, I'd say.
And but in these circumstances, I don't know. That's what the process was.
And you're not even copied in on this, so this is going on without your knowledge, is that right?
Isn't that? I can't. I don't. Well, I'm not copied into this particular one. I don't know whether he sent me anything else. I can't recall. I don't remember.
Let's go on to poll 305 3745. You can see that you're the author of this memo. It's addressed to Post Office Security with a copy to the investigator, Mr. Longman. And you say, I now enclose counsel Warwick Tatford's advice and would be grateful if you would kindly please deal with the outstanding matters with regard to the disclosure which the defence are seeking, and should deal with it paragraph by paragraph, so it's probably easier to deal with. Yes?
Yes.
So essentially you're post-boxing on counsel's advice, saying, can you please, investigator, deal with it all?
I think that's how we. That's what the process was. We didn't was to actually send the advice to the investigation officer, not to. I mean, there's certain bits he obviously couldn't deal with, but which we would have dealt with, or somebody else he could who would have knowledge of. But that's the way the system of the process worked. I mean, I can't say any more than that. But I mean.
Well, I was going to say, that did strike as a bit strange. I mean, it was a little bit strange that the investigators were almost gathering statements, or not almost, were gathering statements from Fujitsu on their behalf. But the advice from counsel is legal advice to a solicitor and, to the post office, the organisation. Surely that all has to be dealt with by Jarnail Singh or some other lawyer within the post office, because will the investigator even understand it? I wouldn't like to be sent legal advice from counsel in the professional role and be responsibility for fulfilling it, because I'd be like, I don't have the qualifications to necessarily deal with all this. So whilst I might be able to have a go at some of it, and as he said, some of it I'd have to deal with, how's he supposed to work that out from that memo? It's ridiculous.
You remember Mr. Dinsdale had raised questions about the scope of the disclosure that the defence were seeking.
Yes.
And you had commented that it was unreasonable and unnecessary, and then Mr. Tatford had advised that these are the things that you need to do. Where you say in the last line, or the penultimate line, please advise Mark Dinsdale accordingly, were you telling Mr. Longman that he should feed back to Mark Dinsdale the response to his concerns of the parameters of the defence's disclosure requests? You weren't responding to Mr. Dinsdale yourself. This is what I think, this is what counsel thinks about the disclosure requests. It's going to tie up the department, it's going to grind work to a halt. You were saying, here's the advice, you, Jon Longman, tell Dinsdale that's the outcome.
I don't know. I mean, at that particular moment in time, I don't know where we were, what we were thinking, but it's presumably just a simple thing. Well, look, Mark, I've got counsel's advice. I'm dealing with it. Just to keep him informed. I mean, say, well, look, it's been dealt with, or it's in hand. I mean, I can't tell you precisely. I don't know the answer to that. As to
he wasn't keeping them informed, though, was he? A secondary was asking them to do it. That's not just keeping someone informed. That's saying, please, can you do my job for me, surely?
As to what you're asking me about that. But all I'm saying is that, they presumably both investigation officers to say, look, Mark, it's been dealt with, or I'm dealing with it.
So you faithfully sent on counsel's advice to Mr. Longman, yes? Agreed?
That's what, yes. I mean, that's what I'm doing.
And you'll remember that Mr. Tatford had advised our disclosure duties require us to ask Fujitsu whether they're aware of any other horizon error that has been found at any sub-post office. Remember?
Yes.
If we just go back, please, to FUJ 0015 2887 and scroll down. This email from Mr. Longman to Penny Thomas in Fujitsu doesn't include that question, does it?
What question? Sorry.
Let's try and...
The question asking Fujitsu whether they have any documents on errors that Warwick Tatford said you really must ask for.
Look at two documents on the screen at the same time to try and help you. Can we have on the left-hand side, poll 304 4557, and look at the second page of the left-hand document? Sorry, third page. All right, can you read paragraph 7? I think our disclosure duty requires us to ask Fujitsu whether they're aware of any other horizon error that has been found at any sub-post office. Yes?
Yes.
And then look at the email on the right-hand side. What was in fact communicated to Fujitsu?
Yes.
Doesn't include that, does it?
I don't know, what's he attaching? Is he attached below? I don't know. To be produced at the various... Is that...
That's Professor McLachen's second interim report.
Yeah, sorry. It's not there. Yeah, I confirm. Yeah, I agree.
So that's kind of let Fujitsu off the hook for that one, hasn't it? At least in this case.
That's a significant omission, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Prosecution counsel has said that the prosecutor's disclosure duties require us to ask Fujitsu whether they're aware of any other horizon error at any sub-post office. And that question's not asked there, is it?
It doesn't appear to be, no.
Which presumably would have been something for Jarnail Singh to check up on. I mean, there's lots of points this could have been caught, I guess. Jon Longman, I guess, who's the investigator, but it doesn't really sound like his job to be implementing this advice. Could have spotted it, hasn't, or hasn't included it for whatever reason. Jarnail Singh couldn't have spotted it in the email because he wasn't copied in, but could have double-checked with him that had been done, seeing as though Warwick Tatford had said it's really important we check this, and presumably also Warwick Tatford could have checked with Jarnail Singh to check that had happened. So there's just multiple points along the line where it's failed. However, he may have thought, well, I've sent this advice to Jarnail Singh, I expect him to implement this now, and not necessarily micromanage him. Maybe that was what was required.
All of this was going on without your knowledge, wasn't it? You weren't involved in it, were you?
I'm not copied in.
Why was it going on without your knowledge?
I don't honestly. I can't answer that. I don't know why, but that's. I can't answer that. I don't know. I don't recall.
Can we go to poll 304 4553, please? This is your letter. We just go to the last page. See, you signed it off. Go to the first page, please. Of the 27th of January to the defence solicitor Izzy Hogg. Counsel's drafting his response to the Section 8 disclosure application. Turning to the defence, the request for further disclosure. Scroll down, please. You deal with contract, training, over the page, please. You respond to investigations, and scroll down, please, and scroll down again. Under Horizon System, you say, we can understand why you would want to see specific areas of the Horizon data. Your expert will want to check his theories against the relevant data. Your client will also presumably be able to direct you through specific types of transactions where she feels errors may have occurred. We do not understand how your expert will be assisted by being presented with a mountain of data covering 5 years.
Well, that's for them to decide, isn't it, really, and them to deal with their own experts. Surely that's not a consideration for the prosecution to be having, or making, or determining.
You say that Horizon has undergone stringent testing before it was installed, and then over the page, please. And then under 19, you say in the second part of it, the investigation officer, Jon Longman, said he's prepared to meet the defence expert with one or more representatives from Fujitsu to discuss technical issues and reach as much agreement as possible. This will obviously avoid much wasted time. Could you consider the point and revert back to you? So you were making an offer that Mr. Longman would meet the defence expert with some representatives of Fujitsu to discuss technical issues, correct?
Well, that's my instructions. It's not something I arranged. It was something I was instructed to put forward.
Who instructed you? Would that be the investigator?
That's what it says. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it on my own back. It would be instructions come from the investigation security team via Jon Longman. As to who authorised it, presumably he's spoken to Fujitsu and who are happy to do it. So.
Would your understanding, and after all this is your letter, be that such Fujitsu representatives who attended such a meeting would be attending the meeting in the capacity as operators of the system with some knowledge of it, or attending such a meeting as instructed expert witnesses?
I don't know what you're asking me. I mean, if you break it down a little bit, because this is years on. I'm trying to assist the inquiry as much as I can.
That seemed fairly basic. Are you basically saying they're there because they know about the system, i.e. a witness of fact, as you might have put it previously, or were they actually there as your experts, witnesses from a prosecution case? That's how I took it to mean.
I don't, know the case now as much detail I did at that particular moment in time. So if you break it up, then certainly I can help. Otherwise, I can't recall as to precisely the nature of that communication but I can tell you it would be something, like any client instructing a solicitor to do, and that's why I'm putting it forward to the defence solicitor.
So I can tell you that I can't remember from the outset, but if you explain it, I might be able to remember. However, even if I do remember it wasn't me, someone told me to do it. Is that the sum total of that?
So can I take from that you would just relay of instructions, you didn't apply your mind to what's happening here? A defence expert coming into the premises of the operators of our system and meeting them. What's really going on here? In what capacity are these representatives from Fujitsu meeting this defense expert? You would have just forwarded essentially what your instructions were.
No, I don't know what I did at that particular moment in time. It's such a long time ago, but it certainly would have been discussed and considered. And I certainly Fujitsu wouldn't allow any person just to enter. There would be certain conditions as to it, and I think it may just be. Maybe I shouldn't really speculate. I honestly cannot assist and help the inquiry with that, but certainly it would have been considered. It wouldn't be post and paste job saying, well, look, this is you're welcome to do this. It's not as simple as that.